About 5 years ago, my wife and daughter came back from Oklahoma with a big surprise. I've had those surprises before, and I could hardly anticipate what it was. But what it was three little puppies that she and my daughter had rescued off the side roads up there in Oklahoma. Well, they were a mess, and it took us quite a bit of time and quite a bit of expense to rehab them and get rid of the mange and all kinds of other things so they could associate with our main dog, Daisy. We gave two of those puppies away, and I mean puppies. They were very small, this big when we got them. And there was one that we thought, well, we'll just keep this guy. You know, he's pretty cute and he's funny. And he's funny because, and because he's funny, my daughter named him Mel, after Mel Brooks, that she'd been watching a lot of his movies at that time. So we kept Mel. Now the other two dogs, one was kind of a merle coat, looked like an Australian Shepherd. The other was a black and white puppy, like the one that we kept. But they ended up being medium-sized dogs. But Mel got bigger and bigger and bigger, and we had no idea what he was. Finally, my wife took him to the vet and got a DNA on him, and we found out that among the whole mixture of his DNA was Great Pyrenees. So Mel ended up being well over 100 pounds. He's about 110 pounds, 115 pounds, and she walked him every day, and he got exercise and everything, but he was just a big dog. Well, last month, actually around August 1st, 2017, Mel had an ACL tear in the back right leg. And that just broke our hearts because we had really just fallen in love with Mel, and we had no idea what to do because we had no idea that dogs had ACL tears and stuff like that. But when we researched it a little bit, we found that ACL tear is the most common, just about one of the most common injuries that dogs have. Well, he hobbled around the house with his right hind leg up. We took him to the vet, and the vet x-rayed it and said looked like a partial tear. So, okay, what do we do? She said, well, let's try rest and a little rehab, no running, nothing like that. We'll see if things will get better on their own, just by lots of rest. And things did seem to get better for a couple weeks. And then one of the things I noticed that began happening was the left hind leg got weaker and weaker and worse and worse. So we took him to the vet, and the vet said, well, it looks like what we're going to have to do is probably surgery on the right one and maybe on both. Well, that didn't sound too great from the standpoint of expense, and it certainly didn't sound too great for Mel himself because of the rehab I just knew would be difficult. Well, we took him to a surgeon that does specifically these things, and the descriptions that he gave us were horrifying, especially for Mel. He took a look at Mel's x-rays and he says, look, Mel's got very small bones. The leg bones don't look really big and beefy there in the back. So what the vet would do actually would be reshape the bone and everything, and then drill holes in the bone and put a steel shaft there to essentially keep the upper joint from moving forward and damaging the rest of the leg, and then the leg would get better over time with rehab. But there's one caveat, and that is that any number of things, actually there's more than one caveat, that any number of things could happen to the point that the screws that held the steel plates in would come loose. This is what he's telling us. That also that he's had dogs that, because of the small bone structure, the bones would just shatter, and then the only other alternative is to put the dog down. Well, needless to say, and I think probably my wife too, we came away from there in a state of shock and not quite knowing what to do. So we got home, and I thought there's got to be some other alternative. So my son and I began to look through the internet to look to see if we could find some alternatives to dealing with the ACL besides this horrific sounding surgery that was incredibly expensive. Both legs could end up costing as much as $8,000 or $9,000, plus the cost for all the things for the rehab. So I thought there's got to be something else. And we began to see some images and some videos of dogs with those ACL tears that were wearing braces, and different companies were offering them. And the dogs seemed to be getting along, and we read, of course, a lot of reviews and stuff. But you know how reviews, it's hard to trust reviews. But when we saw so many of them, so many positive reviews, and including video of the dogs that were dragging themselves around, and dogs that got braces, and how much better off they got once they had the braces and could run. And then finally, apparently with the braces, what happens, the braces do essentially the same thing that the surgery does, but without the steel plate and without the reshaping of the bone and everything, in the fact that it keeps the bone from sliding forward and further damaging the leg. And then the bone can heal in that fixed position. The scar tissue can build up, the bone can heal, and the goal, of course, is eventually to get the dog to be able to walk. I don't know about running, but to be able to walk and walk well and walk without pain and comfortably without the braces. And this is a rather protracted process. It'll take, 7, 8, 9 months. But that was hopeful. Well, we contacted one of those companies, and as a disclaimer, I say, this company has not asked me to do this. I'm not getting anything from this company. I paid a full price for the braces, but we got braces from this company called Posh, and I'll have to say that up to now they've been incredibly helpful and informative as to what to do. Now, right now, I'm presenting this in the second day of Mel's rehab. And my wife has fitted him up with the braces. I've done some video, and I will continue to do video over the weeks. So I plan to document his progress and present it here on the internet. Now, why am I doing this? The reason I want to do this is that we're hoping for a really positive outcome. We love this dog, and this dog has really captured our hearts over the years. It would be extremely difficult for us to say goodbye to this guy and have to put him down. So we don't want to do that. We'll do anything within reason to keep that from happening. But especially with his size and weight and with his bone structure, it just seems like that the whole question of surgery is out of the question. So this looks like the only alternative. And the reason that I'm doing this, the reason I say we're doing this, because my wife wants to do it too, is that we're hoping for a positive outcome, and we're hoping to be able to offer out some kind of hope for people who are searching through the internet like we did, who have gotten the similar information that we have, and are looking for some kind of alternative that will give them some hope so they can keep the dog that they love so much and the dog that loves them so much. Now, I will say that our vet had really not, I couldn't believe this, but they had really not heard of the braces. The only thing my vet seemed to be able to come up with was rest and recuperation. If that didn't work, then surgery. Well, we took the braces to the vet, and she looked at the braces that we got from Posh, and she said, "You got this over the internet?" And yeah, we got it over the internet. So she went out back, and into the back, and she came back several minutes later. I wasn't there, but she told my wife, she said, "This looks really good. If this really works, please let us know, because we need some alternative for people who are in the same situation as you." But this looks like the kind of stuff that people use for braces on their knees and stuff, like when they're rehabbing from the tears in the knees and can't walk and so forth. And it looks like a really well-made piece of equipment. That was kind of heartening, but I've shot video the first day and some the second day, not all of it, on the second day of Mel's rehab, but he's adapting to the braces and he's beginning to walk. And we're hoping that in 2 or 3 weeks, that we're going to see some real strengthening and real improvement in him. But in any case, I'm sorry to make this so long, but I wanted to explain Mel's situation, and I wanted to explain why we're doing this. And we are hoping for a positive outcome, and we hope we can present something to people that will give them some hope. Just like we want to hope that our little dog can recover and become a full functioning member of our household again. So thank you very much for watching. If you have any questions or comments over the period of time, I'll be glad to try to answer them, or my wife can try to answer them. But just contact us here on this web page, on this YouTube page, and we'll be glad to try to make a cogent response if we possibly can. Thanks very much for watching.